What's going on, everybody? Welcome to After Prison Show, and in this video I'm going to tell you about the top 5 prison jobs that you never knew existed. Hell, I didn't even know some of these jobs existed myself, and when you hear about this, I can guarantee you this is going to be absolutely crazy and probably news to you. Before we get into this video, however, I do want to give a very special shout out to Survey Compare, who actually sponsored this video again because our last video featuring them actually did really well. So I want to say a very special thank you to all of you who did take a chance to check out Survey Compare. If you didn't do so, you should definitely do so this time, where you can actually get paid to take surveys. And some of these surveys actually pay you upwards of like $5 a survey. Now, you're not going to get rich filling out surveys, but these are a really great way to earn a little extra pocket money. Maybe even a little commissary money you could use to spend on some Zooms and Whams. All you've got to do is visit the top link listed down in the descriptions below. Click that, set up a profile if you haven't done so already, and you can begin earning money as early as with the completion of your very first survey. You know, at first it sounded a little crazy to me to think that you could be paid to take surveys, but big brands are interested in exactly what consumers want, so they're willing to pay you for your opinion. You can fill out as many or as few surveys as you want. There's no limit on the amount of surveys that you have to complete. You can receive payment via PayPal, or you can receive vouchers for stores like Amazon. So, you know, if you want a little extra spending money for you to spend on Amazon, go ahead and visit Survey Compare, set you up a profile, start taking some surveys, and begin earning for yourself a little bit of extra commissary money. But it's with all of that being mentioned, what do you say we go ahead and dive head first into these top 5 prison jobs you never knew existed video. This first prison job that I want to share with you guys is actually what inspired this video entirely. And it was me thinking about this crazy prison job that really got me to thinking about all of these other potential or really crazy prison jobs that you probably never even knew existed. But before I talk to you about this first prison job, I want to talk about 2 categories in which prison jobs mostly fall under. One is considered under the gun. Basically, any job that you're working inside the prison or even outside of the prison, or where there's somebody who's watching you, potentially and probably, thug life, under the gun. Now, under the gun jobs mostly pertains to any kind of job that you'll have working outside of the fence. Whether you're working on a road crew or something like that, where there's going to be a guard who's standing there, sitting in a van, sitting on a horse, who is definitely packing while doing so. This guard is sitting there watching your every single move, whether you're cleaning out a ditch, whether you're cutting some grass, whether you're picking up trash. This guard is sitting there watching everything that you're doing with that burner, with that heat, with that firearm right there on his waist, just waiting and maybe even hoping that somebody might try to do something they ain't supposed to do. And you know, I've worked on some of these road crews myself where you were certainly under the gun. And one thing that I want to throw into this is that, you know, for the majority of the type of guards that you'll deal with in these jobs where you're working under the gun, most of those guards, they're going to be pretty okay. They're not really looking to use what they're packing on you. They're going to try to treat you with some kind of respect because you have something of like a privileged job that allows you to go outside of the fence. In most cases, I can guarantee you are going to be a low-level prisoner who's really not going to pose too much of a threat to either running or trying to like take over the van or the guard or anything crazy like that. So in most cases, the guards who are going to be in those positions to watch over you while you are under the gun, they're going to be okay. However, I've most certainly seen some guards in that same exact situation who are most certainly not okay. It's almost like what they packing on the side of their waist just waiting to just jump out of that holster. What are you doing? Wait, hey, you gotta ask me if you want to use the restroom. You can't just go behind that tree like that. Dude, I just had to pee. I was going behind the tree. When dealing with a guard like that, you really got to be mindful to be like extra careful because things can go wrong real quick. But just as most prison jobs that you're going to have are going to be under the gun type of jobs, there's also another category which is farther and fewer between, and that's going to be jobs that are outside of the fence but not under the gun, meaning that you've gained some sort of trust and you are in like a privileged prison employment position to be granted access to work at a job outside of the prison fence where nobody is really watching you at all. And the reason prisoners are given these type of jobs is A, they gain that trust. They're super low level prisoners. They probably don't have a lot of time left. In most cases, they're going to have less time left to serve. than what you could be given if you do try to run off and escape. Because in most cases, an escape charge is going to carry something like 5 years. But it's with mentioning all of that again, you've got like these two categories of prison type jobs. Under the gun and the very few and far between jobs which are not under the gun and are outside of the fence. Which all of this brings us to this very first crazy prison job that you never knew existed, and what this job is, which is guaranteed to probably surprise a lot of you. But there are certain prisoners whose prison job is actually a delivery driver. A delivery driver? Joe, what you talking about, a delivery driver? What they driving for Papa John's and Pizza Hut? How prisoners could be a delivery driver though? They ain't got no car. Yeah, I know it sounds pretty crazy to even think that a prisoner could be given a job as a delivery driver. But there are a very select few, the farthest and fewest between, prisoners who actually have jobs as delivery drivers where they're driving these big trucks. Now, I'm not sure if they're doing this completely by themselves, if there's a guard who's with them, if there's a guard who's driving the truck and they're just accompanying this truck as it's traveling down its delivery route. But there are prisoners whose job it is to deliver milk to all of the different prisons. And I'm not sure if they're delivering anything outside of milk like other things, but I do know for sure that there's like a prisoner or two whose job it is to drive from one prison to another, just like the milkman delivering some damn milk to all of these other prisons. I know it's crazy to think that you're gonna trust some prisoners with some keys and a box truck and trust them to just go deliver that milk and come right back, but I can guarantee you there's a prisoner right now who is on the road driving him a milk delivery truck from one prison to another. And because this is such an exclusive and almost like ghost position to have inside of the prison, I don't know a lot about this, especially in terms of what this prisoner actually makes per hour. I can guarantee you one thing though, he's making top dollar. Whether he's making him 50 cents, 85 cents, $1, maybe even $1.50 or $2 an hour, this prisoner, he's got him like the sweetest possible job there is. Moving on to the second prison job that you never knew existed, and I never knew this existed myself, but it involves a pair of these. Now, for those of you who don't know what these are, these actually came to us from one of Dave's friends who he was locked up with, a guy by the name of Rabbit. These little thong drawers that this guy made for Dave. We haven't gotten Dave to wear these just yet, but he actually made these out of a t-shirt. I don't know how he dyed these. He must have used some Kool-Aid or something. And though these things look absolutely disgusting, these are pretty important to this second prison job. And I'm not sure if they're still doing this or not, if this has been shut down since. But there are prisoners whose job it is or was working in a factory right there in the prison, manufacturing Victoria's Secret lingerie. Ugh, God. I don't know why those things stink too. Now, I'm pretty sure that this job was available down in South Carolina, and I'm pretty sure as well that this was only available to the female prisoners. You most certainly were not going to have no male prisoners working in a Victoria's Secret manufacturing warehouse inside of a prison. Can you imagine that? Hey, dog, what's your job inside this prison? What kind of thug life convict job you got? I work in the Victoria's Secret manufacturing department factory here on the prison. You work in the what? The Victoria? Hey, you work in the Victoria's Secret? Hey, can you give me some lingerie? Yeah, again, I'm pretty sure this was not available to male prisoners and only to the female prisoners. And I'm not sure if they were manufacturing the lingerie completely from start to finish. In fact, I have no idea how you would even do that. How do they make lingerie? What? That's how they make lingerie. But when I was researching this particular prison job, this was the information I came across right here. Female inmates in South Carolina sew undergarments and casual wear for the pricey lingerie company Victoria's Secret. In the late 1990s, 2 prisoners were placed in solitary confinement for telling journalists that they were hired to replace the Made in Honduras tags with Made in the USA tags. All of that is pretty damn crazy to think about. 1, Victoria's Secret, which I can only assume, I don't know for sure because I don't really ever go inside the Victoria's Secret store. I do know some dudes who like to frequent that store just to be watching the women who are in that store, and that is absolutely creepy. But I'm pretty sure Victoria's Secret is pretty pricey, and to think that you got female prisoners down in South Carolina who are making these undergarments and this lingerie for probably pennies on the damn dollar, only to be given over to Victoria's Secret and then sold for probably something like a 1,000% 50% markup, if not more. And then to think about 2 female prisoners who ended up going to isolation for telling a journalist their job was to cut that Made in Honduras tag off and then re-sew across the top of that Made in the USA, right here in some sort of a prison down in South Carolina. They went to the hole for putting that information out there. And the third prison job to make this list is a fish farm out in Colorado. And this one is just as crazy as that Victoria's Secrets one was. But out in Colorado at some prison, I don't know which prison it is, but there's a fish farm where they employ something like 2,000 prisoners to work, growing, harvesting, I don't know what you would call it, raising tilapia fish. And these guys out there make something like 74 cents an hour or 74 cents a day. I don't know exactly which one it was. When I read it, it said 74 cents a day. But I hope and I pray that these dudes are really making something more like 74 cents an hour. Because what they do with this fish, once they've grown it, raised it, breeded it, I don't know what you do with fish, but they are actually taking these tilapia fish, selling them to Whole Foods, which is probably one of the most expensive grocery stores that I can think of. If anybody knows a more expensive grocery store other than Whole Foods, please let me know so I can make sure that I never go there. I'm probably never going to Whole Foods again after learning this information. But these fish that are raised on a prison fish farm that employs over 2,000 prisoner workers is sold to Whole Foods, which in turn turns around and sells this tilapia for $12 a pound. Now, the first thing I gotta say is I don't know a damn thing about a tilapia or a tuna. I couldn't tell you the difference. Is tilapia like a good, expensive type of a fish? Because it damn sure sounds like it must be if it's being sold for $12 a pound. And when I looked further into this prison job, I mean, this basically unraveled like an entire can of worms. Worms, fish. That was pretty clever right there. But wait until you hear what they doing out here in Colorado. Under the arrangement, Colorado Corrections Industries, a part of the DOC that oversees labor and the sale of goods and services, enters into contracts with private businesses that want inmates to help with the labor of producing goods. Why wouldn't companies want prisoners to produce whatever services or goods they're trying to sell? Because prisoners are going to be able to create and build and make these things for the absolute low. Quitonic Farming, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, is one of the vendors that contracts with the DOC. The company, which says on its website, is a family-owned tilapia farming company with farms in Colorado and northern Missouri. Family-owned prison DOC inmate labor force, family prison. I may be going out on a limb here, but it certainly sounds like they got some false advertising going on their website, talking about a family-owned company when it's all prisoners doing the work. This family-owned tilapia farming company, which farms in Colorado and northern Missouri, pays the DOC to have inmates construct fish tanks and then raise tilapia for it. Hey DOC, you definitely need to have you some better business sales tactics, because the story goes on to say that the department gets 85 cents a pound for the tilapia. Quitonics then sells to the vendors that include Hy-Vee and Whole Foods. Tilapia was being sold for $11.99 a pound at Whole Foods on a recent day in New York. Inmates are paid as little as 74 cents to as high as $4 a day for the goods and services made at Colorado Correctional Industries, according to somebody who is the director of the program. The base rate of 74 cents is the same prisoners in other jobs throughout the system make, but CCI workers can earn performance bonuses, meaning the guys who are working at this fish farm, these prisoners, they can earn a little bit of extra money. And why wouldn't they be able to earn a little bit of extra money when this story goes on to say that CCI makes about $64 million a year? Why ain't that in Forbes magazine? I wonder if they're a part of the Better Business Bureau. Probably not. And they also employ about 2,000 inmate laborers. Moving on to the fourth prison job that you never knew existed. This one is actually more popular than you may think. But there are actually prisoners who are working in call centers, answering phones and doing like customer service and whatever else people do when they answer phones, maybe even telemarketing. But could you imagine, like, you're calling in, maybe you're placing a QVC order. I'm not going to say QVC because I don't think they actually use inmate labor. But just imagine you're calling into somewhere you might not have any idea that whoever's answering that phone to help with whatever issue you might be having might be a prisoner sitting in a prison somewhere. And one very popular company that has been notorious with using inmate labor in their call centers has been the phone service AT&T. Could you imagine calling into AT&T because you're having some sort of technical difficulties and that call going something like this?
Yeah, thank you for calling AT&T. You are speaking with Tommy. Who am I having the pleasure of speaking with right now?
Hello, this is Mr. Grippers, and I'm having trouble with
with AT&T, my service provider? Yes, I'm looking on the computer right now, Mr. No Grippers, and it appears you have not paid your bill in about 6 months. That's probably why you're having... I cannot even believe your phone is still on right this second, sir. What are you talking about? I have not paid my bill. My girlfriend, she takes my credit card and she tells me she's paying the bill. You're telling me my bill has not been paid for 6 months? Yes, Mr. No Grippers. That is exactly what I'm telling you. I'm looking at it right here on the computer screen. Mr. No Grippers, your phone bill has not been paid for 6 months. I don't know what your girlfriend is doing with your credit card, but it certainly looks like you might want to get that back from her right now. Oh my God, I can't believe I trusted her with everything, including my credit card. She's probably talking to some guy who's locked up. Can you see the phone calls that are being made through my service? Yes, I'm pulling that up right now, Mr. No. Wow, yes, hey, look, I don't want to be the one to tell you this, but there looks like there is a lot of collect calls, maybe to some sort of prison or other institution. I'm going to go ahead and transfer you over to our crisis department right now.
Again, you never know who you're talking to on the other end of the line when calling any sort of customer service, and there's a good possibility who is picking up that phone on the other end could be a prisoner. And again, AT&T was a huge company that was notorious for using prison labor inside of their call centers. In fact, back in like 1993, there was like this huge crazy thing that they did where this company AT&T actually fired like thousands of regular union employees that they had in an effort to increase their own profit. And how do you think they did that? By firing all of those people and in turn replacing them with prisoners making virtually nothing. I think I read something like prisoners who work in these call centers can make like barely $2 a day. I'm really hoping they're making a little bit more nowadays, but that is absolutely crazy to think about. For virtually nothing, AT&T is stockpiling these call centers full of prisoners answering their phones. You know, I only decided to tell you about 5 prison jobs that you never knew existed, but to be honest with you, I could have probably made a list of like 10, 20, maybe even more of these absolutely insane prison jobs that I'm pretty sure you had no idea existed, and a lot of these I didn't even know myself. But I decided to include only 5 in this video, and with number 5, I wanted to include a much more positive, brighter story because most all of these jobs seemed pretty doom and gloom. But in the state of California, there was a guy by the name of Chris Redlitz, who was a venture capitalist who walked inside of the prison and realized that a lot of the prisoners in there were pretty business savvy. And because of that, this guy actually created a program inside of the prison called The Last Mile, which actually trains guys to be better prepared for when they get released to either start their own business, and also teaches the prisoners in this program to do coding for websites. Now, I'm not sure if prisoners are actually paid to be a part of this program. I do know here in the state of Virginia, there are programs where prisoners are paid to be a part of those. You know, you could be a student, you could be going to school just to get your GED here in the state of Virginia, and they're going to pay you something like 17 cents an hour just to be going to school to get your GED. I know that sounds absolutely insane, but that's what they do. So there is a potential that the prisoners in this Last Mile program are being paid to be a part of this. And even if they're not, it definitely sounds like these dudes are getting some hellified job training skills that they could carry with them out there in the free world. And in fact, when I was reading about this Last Mile program, they mentioned one guy in particular, a guy by the name of Tulio Cardozo, who served 5 years after a botched attempt at cooking hashish, which left him with severe burns across half of his body. He was a part of this Last Mile program, and 2 years after he was released, he got a job as a lead developer in a San Francisco startup. You know what they were saying with this story was that with this Last Mile program, this teaches inmates how to start businesses and code websites for which they can earn up to $17 an hour. Now, I'm pretty sure they're not earning that $17 an hour in prison. They're probably talking more so about when these dudes get released. But to think that this dude, Tulio Cardozo, ended up getting released and getting a job as a lead developer in this San Francisco startup, I'm quite certain this dude's making a whole hell of a lot more than just $17 an hour. Hey, look, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did so, please leave a like and a comment letting me know exactly what you thought about it. As always, until next time, enjoy life, the free world, never take a moment for granted, and make the most of every day. Peace!